name's Claire Gillespie from Skills Development Scotland. I'm the ICT and Digital Technology Sector Skills Manager, so I lead on the skills strategy for the digital sector. And I'm always very quick to point out I'm not a technologist, I have no sort of technical expertise whatsoever, but I come from a strong skills background, working in SDS for around about 12 years in a variety of projects. Let's say these are things that you maybe already know, but just what I want to emphasise here is just why digital sector is so important to Scotland. So if any of you are economists, you'll see that we have contributed to about 4% of GBA, and we are also a very big employer. See, we also, I'm not technically part of your sector, a big employer of people in Scotland. So we are employing around 80,000 people in digital technology roles. And I'll just point out, when I look at digital technology, I'm not looking at literacy or people actually using technology in everyday life. I'm looking at the more specialist and professional end of the digital technology sector, so programmers, data analysts, anything in that kind of nature. What's really important, I'm not sure if you're aware, is that actually more than half of that 80,000 are employed in non-technology companies. So places like finance, like energy, like creative industries, for example, obviously huge consumers of digital technology staff. So digital technology is a really cross-sector enabler. It enables growth and innovation in other parts of the economy, as well as contributing to their digital technologies role within those employers as well. I think what's more important than that absolute figure of around 80,000 is the sector's very much in growth just now. Now, there may be slight regional variations and there may be different numbers kicking about, but numbers vary from probably around about 10,000 people needed each year to somewhere around 13,000 people each year. So I think it doesn't matter which number you land on, we're needing an awful lot of people to come in and take on these digital technology roles. That 11,000, if you go with my figure, includes replacement and growth demand. So we're not saying we're creating 11,000 new jobs each year, that would be amazing, I'd imagine. What we have is a lot of replacement demand because it is an ageing workforce, and we also have some growth demand in there as well. And a recent Scotland IS study, I don't know if you're familiar, Scotland IS is a trade body for digital technology sector. Their recent report said about 83% of companies actually wanted to grow, and some of them grow in quite significant numbers. But actually quite a lot of employers have unfilled vacancies just now. I don't know if that's echoed in some of the employers in the room today. There's some real challenges out there and quite a tight labour market. I'll mention some of the skills that are coming through in terms of what employers are looking for, but there's a real strong demand for graduates. So 74% of the Scotland IS respondents said they wanted to recruit graduates as a preference over other vocational routes and other backgrounds. Now, I don't want to dispute that you need graduates for certain types of roles, but one of the things I'll mention later is how you broaden that talent pipeline and encourage employers to look at modern apprenticeships, to look at colleges, to look at some of the training provision coming through places like QE, for example. And I'm keen to hear your voices in terms of employers as well. This Digital Scotland little banner down the bottom is really our governance, actually, from a digital skills perspective. So we report into a programme board, and that doesn't just include digital skills. We have digital broadband and infrastructure projects reporting in there, we have digital participation, and also digital business development on behalf of Scottish Enterprise. And Scottish Government have an overarching ambition for Scotland to be a digital nation by 2020. Employer digital skills needs, so I won't labour this in great detail. We've done quite a lot of research into what employers are looking for. Some of it's very generic, or some of it's very generic research in terms of looking at digital technology staff in a very broadest sense. But we've also done bespoke research into public sector digital needs, and also research into financial services, and as you can imagine, finance is a huge consumer of digital talent. Things that are coming through very strongly are things that are probably echoing the growth in the sector. So things like big data, for example, the tech partnership, the Sector Skills Council for the industry did a research report to say that data jobs are multiplying sort of tenfold every year. There's a huge demand for data, and that certainly came through the research we did with employers. Things that also came through, and I suppose related to data, the more that we consume data and make use of data, information security is becoming an increasing issue. And a lot of employers are having a requirement for people to do something with the data in terms of data scientists and interpreting that data, but also making sure they're compliant as well, and not getting these organisations into trouble in terms of the legal and regulatory environment. Things that also came through were, and I'll talk about this in a bit more detail, just broadly to do with software and programming, coders, developers. That's a really recurring issue, and again that came through really strongly in the Scotland IS research, that for particularly large companies, I think 83% of the large companies surveyed said their strongest demand or their strongest need was for people with programming skills and coding skills. And what was quite interesting, some of the research says it doesn't really matter what language they have, as long as they have the ability to learn a language fairly quickly. Again, I welcome your thoughts. And I suppose aligned to that is what employers are looking for, is people with really good quality computational skills, those underpinning skills, which means they can learn quickly, they're logical, they have analytical skills, and they can turn their hand to different parts of the sort of tech environment fairly quickly. I think I've got a few more things around there, again from the Scotland IS study. Although they're not too fussed in the language, there was a strong sort of preponderance towards like Java, for example. And they're also looking for people with a combination of skills, that really multidisciplinary approach. So people who have commercial skills, marketing experience, finance, project management, that whole blend of people who can either understand tech or actually do a bit of tech, but also bring a blend of other experience with them, and that type of person is very, very valuable to tech employers, although again I welcome the thoughts of anyone in the room tonight who may agree or disagree with that. I can send you links to all this research if that's of interest to you. Almost virtually everything here I'm talking about is pre-published and online for you to access. So we also have a growing sector, so we need 11,000 or whatever number of people each year, depending on what number you go with. But as we mentioned, employers are having real skills challenges, which is surprising from my perspective. Looking in, digital technology seems a really attractive sector to work in. The average earnings, I think, are about 18% above the Scottish average. Again, I can check that number for you. But if you come into the digital sector, you're likely to have a good quality job, I would imagine. However, employers do have real challenges. One of the problems is that supply from schools, from further education, higher education, and also things like modern apprenticeships, just isn't meeting the demand. There's a real mismatch there. So young people at school and at subsequent sort of education points are not choosing computing science, and they're not choosing computing science related qualifications and careers, unfortunately. I've got a few little stats in this diagram here, but again I can send you out some more stats. One of the issues there, and I don't know what it's like in the Aberdeen area, I'm going to go back and review the numbers, but not every school has computing science teachers. Not every school delivers computing science as part of the curriculum. So young people may not get that opportunity at school in terms of absolute skills development, but they're maybe not even getting awareness of it either, unfortunately. And there is a danger they conflate it with IT or ICT user skills, and what they don't want to do is get a job where they populate Excel spreadsheets all day. I'm not saying it's a bad job, but that's probably not the most exciting part of digital technologies. The workforce is ageing, so young people are not coming into the sector for the reasons I've mentioned already. The number of 16 to 25-year-olds in the sector is half that of other occupations. Again, that surprises me because digital technology seems like, I don't want to be ageist here, it seems like a thing that young people should be involved in, and that people, young kids, young people coming through, that generation, that they're constant users of technology. What we need to do is make them actual makers of technology, not just consumers. There's a huge gender imbalance, so the numbers have increased by about 2% in the last 2 years, but we're still looking at less than 20% of the workforce being made up of females, which is a huge loss of talent to the sector. When you've got a tight marketplace, there's a whole number of people out there who aren't being attracted. So there's been quite a lot of research as to why that would be the case. Occupational segregation is quite common in lots of sectors, but it tends to be in sort of dirty sectors. People perceive some jobs to be not, construction, for example, or engineering might not be seen as something they want to do. But the research that came through from a digital perspective was they saw it as a little bit geeky, the girls, who didn't want to work in a male environment. So kind of those stereotypes were something that was filtering down to young people, so they were actively not choosing to come into the IT sector. And actually I think there was a piece of research this week published by BCS and Tech Partnership which said that 1 out of 10 directors in technology firms were female. Did you see, is that right? Yeah. So it's at all levels, unfortunately. The other thing is that women tend not to stay in the sector. If they enter the sector in the first place, they tend to have quite high dropout rates, which again seems the opposite of what I would think, because it could be should be a very flexible environment if you do take a career break, for example. There's big challenges, and I'm going to touch on this a bit later, about lack of awareness about careers in the sector, and that's lack of awareness from young people, but also their parents, their teachers, their influencers. A whole range of people just don't know what the technology sector offers, and they have quite negative views. So they think about the kind of outsourcing years where things kind of went offshore, for example. They think about IT help desk jobs. And again, I'm not saying that's not a good quality job, but there's a whole range of other things out there that actually would be inspiring people to get involved with. And the pace of change creates challenges for education, so I suppose it's one of the reasons why maybe we don't have computer science in every school, and you mentioned the whole CPD and teacher confidence thing. There's a real challenge for education systems to keep up to date with the digital sector, but also manage employers' expectations. We don't want to jump in every bandwagon and change the curriculum every couple of months, every couple of years. We have to work together, employers and education, to make sure it's a really sensible balance of improvements. So that's all very negative, and I won't leave this in great detail, but I think this kind of highlights some of the things we need to do in terms of sector and career attractiveness to young people, to all their influencers. We need to work really hard to develop and promote alternative routes into the sector, and alternative routes that are valuable to employers and also recognised by employers. So again, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be going to university, but not everyone has to go and do a graduate route. And how do we get employers to recognise the value of apprenticeships and college provision, for example? We have to get more females into the sector, and we need to work with employers to get them actually involved in the curriculum, get them involved in curriculum development, informing it based on their future skills needs, but also look at how they can help us co-deliver. Can they come and do guest lectures, can they do placements, the whole range of things that actually employers maybe want to work with us on in terms of making that curriculum and that curriculum content fit for purpose. The next couple of slides I really are just rattled through very, very quickly. It's really just referencing we have something called the Skills Investment Plan, which is a document which launched about 18 months ago in March 2014. That's a skills sort of strategy for the sector, which is led by SDS, but it's a partnership document. So it provides a framework for us all to work together, and it sets out a vision for the SIP, for the Skills Investment Plan, and for Scotland to be viewed as a world-class nation, so it's very much aligned with that government policy as well. I always see it as a two-part document. The first part of the document is the depressing part, but it talks about all the skills issues that I've mentioned today in much more detail and gives you all the research and evidence sources. The second part of the plan is actually the action plan, and that's where it outlines what we're going to do. Now you can look through that plan in much more detail, but kind of in a nutshell what we're looking at is two objectives. One is around that immediate need, how do we help employers with filling the jobs they have vacant today, but also how do we close the gap so in 5 years' time or 10 years' time we're not sitting in the exact same situation. And those two parts of the strategy are running at the same time. Because even if we get the closing the gap stuff right today, the impact of that isn't going to be seen for several years, because the impact on school and the impact on college and university provision takes time for that to filter through and actually become part of the workforce. The slide I just flicked past previously, again I can circulate these slides, was just reiterating the fact we have quite a lot of government funding. We get £6.6 million, which is quite unique for a skills plan. Now, the reason for that is because one is government are taking it very, very seriously. They understand the importance of digital technologies and the impact of not getting that right, obviously. And it allows us to implement the skills action plan at the back of the skills strategy. So that money runs out in March next year, 2016. So we've obviously spent a good chunk of that money. We have a little bit of money left. And I'm not necessarily canvassing ideas, but I suppose if there's things you think we can do together, then I'm more than happy to hear that. We still do have some funding available, and there's a particular project we did with QA, for example, which I'll mention maybe later, which we funded from the 6.6 million. What I'll emphasise about the 6.6 is it's there to do things differently and not just do what we're doing already. So it's not giving SDS money, for example, to do the same old things we've done over the past few years. It's to try and do something a little bit innovative. And there's two kind of key projects that I'll mention today that we've kind of kick-started with that 6.6. And if anyone's interested in the governance or anything that sits behind that process, that's something that I can share, but it's not hugely interesting, so I won't labour it this evening. And I'll send you a link to the actual skills plan. How we operate this is we have 3 thematic work streams, which are chaired by industry and co-chaired by public sector. So we have Amazon working with SQA, for example, with JP Morgan working with Education Scotland. I'm not going to be able to talk about all these projects. What I just want to demonstrate is the 2 projects I mentioned today isn't everything we're doing. We have a whole range of work. Some of it not as interesting as some of the things I'm going to talk about this evening, but the kind of nuts and bolts that sit behind some of the things we need to do to get the education system right. But what underpins all of this is we need to be adding new talent to the digital sector, so that's kind of the driver behind all the projects that we establish, is how do we add new people and how do we do it in response to employer need. So again, I will circulate this along with the actual skills action plan. What I also want to talk about now is how we can add alternative routes to the digital technology sector. This is a kind of crude diagram, apologies, it's not that well produced. But what it's trying to demonstrate is it doesn't matter where you start, there's lots of different ways into the sector. There's those vocational routes and there's the more academic routes. And we need to be promoting and raising awareness and developing new approaches in all parts of this digital landscape. The project I'm going to talk about just now is the one at the bottom called Code Clan. I don't know if anyone's heard of Code Clan, yes. And that's particularly targeting career returners, so that could be some of your females, for example, who may have done a career break, and also career changers who may want to come into the sector from a different background. Have you been involved in Code Clan, or have you just heard about it?
That was interesting.
I'll give you a quick summary of Code Clan. So Code Clan was formerly called Digital Skills Academy, and it builds on the success of places like, I keep calling it Maker's Mark, but that's a whisky. It's Maker's Academy in London, and General Assembly in London, for example, which are coding academies. And really what they're there to do, and what Code Clan is there to do, is transfer people very, very quickly into digital technology roles. So what we're looking at is taking people through a 4-month intensive programme, where they're probably studying during that period for about 60 hours a week, so it's quite intensive. The staff ratios to student, I think, are 1:8 to make sure they're fully supported. And they'll go through a really intensive period of a programme basically to make them junior software developers in a 4-month period. What we need to stress is that we're taking people from transferable disciplines or transferable knowledge bases. So we're not saying that, for example, I would probably never be a Code Clan candidate. I don't come from that kind of background. But there's lots of individuals out there who may have other STEM jobs, for example, or STEM experience. There could be a hobbyist who have been coding, in their own room and not maybe not got the qualification on paper to actually get a job in the sector. So we're looking at career returners who might have skills who are out of date, people who have been made redundant from other sectors, people who just want to change and maybe even graduates who are underemployed. A whole range of people would be ideal candidates who could go through the Code Clan programme, 4-month programme, and become junior software developers at the end of that. It's an initiative that's led by Scotland IS, who are the trade body. They've really championed this project, and what it's there to do is respond to that immediate need by getting people through this programme and into jobs very, very quickly. It's enabled by SDS and Scottish Government, but it's an independent entity. It will stand kind of on its own 2 feet, and it will have an industry advisory board. So SDS will be involved longer term, but it will have an industry advisory board who will help shape curriculum. So although the curriculum is set for, just now, we know exactly what Code Clan is going to be doing, and it's very much going to be focused on that junior software development role. That may change through time as skills needs change, and that's where that industry advisory board is hugely important. Code Clan will be an independent entity, so they'll hire their own staff. So they've gone through quite an intensive recruitment process recently, and what they've been looking for, and obviously I've not been involved on a day-to-day basis, but what they've been looking for is people who have an aptitude for teaching and a real passion to get this information across, but people who come from really strong technology backgrounds, and that will form the basis of their lecturing staff. I can't quite remember how many lecturing staff they've been sort of recruiting, but I understand that they're all in post now. So hopefully the qualification that individuals get is really good quality. It's an accredited course. It's the first Code Academy in the UK to be accredited. People will get or hopefully in October when it launches, people will get a PDA qualification at SCQF level 7 to 9, depending on quite where they fall in terms of the completion of the programme. So it's a really robust, or hopefully a really robust programme, with a lot of employer input in terms of shaping the curriculum, but also delivering masterclasses and doing sort of quasi, real life projects, and really supporting those individuals, so they don't just come out with digital qualifications, but they come out job ready as well in the very broadest sense of the word. So they have communication skills, they have team building skills, all the things that employers are really looking for. I'm maybe going to wrap through a couple of things and focus on one of the other big key anchors of what we're doing, and I welcome your thoughts on this as well, good or bad. one of the things I've mentioned already is that whole sort of talent pipeline. People aren't choosing the sector, people aren't choosing the subject, and there's a whole range of reasons for that. One of the key reasons, we believe, based on the research and engagement we've done, is around the attractiveness of the sector and the awareness of the sector. And one of the asks we've had back from employers is developing something that provides a consistent message about what the Scottish tech sector is and what kind of opportunities are in the sector, and not just technical jobs, but focusing on the fact there's project management jobs, there's customer support jobs, there's a whole range of things out there that actually people could hopefully get involved in. So based on that, what we are launching is something called Digital World Shape It, which in a nutshell is a multi-channel promotional careers campaign to encourage people to consider digital careers. It's been led by SDS, but it's not an SDS campaign, so you will see a little SDS logo at the bottom, for example, when it launches, but it's not being pitched as something SDS is actually delivering. We're delivering on behalf of industry and in partnership with a whole range of other bodies. And what it's there to do is target the key groups that are mentioned there on the screen. The outcome of this campaign is successful, and fingers crossed, hopefully it is. Again, we've done quite a lot of insight and research. What we hope it will do is drive demand for a whole range of things. So we hope it will drive demand for computer science subjects at school. We hope it will drive demand for HE and FE courses, modern apprenticeships and private training as well. Also things around extracurricular and kind of enrichment activities, things like your coding clubs, your coder dojos. How do we raise awareness and encourage young people to get involved in those kind of out of school initiatives? Our target audience is, we had to narrow our target audience. I suppose we have quite a lot of money, but we don't have all the money in the world, and marketing obviously becomes very expensive. So we've focused on a few key groups because the research says these are the groups where we can have maximum impact, and a maximum impact fairly quickly, hopefully. So we're targeting young people at subject choice at school. So we're encouraging them to either choose computer science and or other STEM subjects that will support a digital technology career. We're targeting at HE and FE decision-making points, so if they've chosen computer science, they actually go and study computer science somewhere else, or maybe choose to enter the sector. We're looking at career switchers between 16 and 34. Now, we're not saying this campaign doesn't affect you if you're 40, but the problem is that we're targeting messages at those groups because research says as you get a little bit older, it's actually harder to change your career for a whole range of reasons. But the messaging is equally valid if you're post-34. It won't surprise you we're targeting females and how we try and encourage more women into the sector by presenting really positive role models. And most, or maybe not most importantly, but really importantly, we're targeting parents and influencers as well. So not just the new entrants, but how all those other people who give them advice and guidance can understand the real good quality opportunities that are available in the sector. So it's not an explicit target audience, other people will benefit from it, but that's exactly who we're targeting at in terms of our key groups. Just to emphasise, it's been a partnership approach. So again, it's been led by SDS and our marketing people, but you'll see some names there of companies who have input and given us some advice and guidance. And we've also had input from Education Scotland in terms of what messaging works best for young people and how we can get really good quality messaging into the school environment. But we've also done a lot of insight and research work as well in focus groups to make sure we land on the right type of campaign. And this is it. So I hope it's very static just now. What you'll see is that a lot of we're doing TV advertising, we're doing billboards, we're doing social media. So it'll come across much more vibrant than what you're seeing today. But what we've chosen is the campaign of Digital World Shape It, and we've chosen a range of logos. Now the reason we've chosen a range of logos is one is that it allows us to represent the fact that there's a lot of subsectors out there, but it also allows us to evolve the logos through time because what's vibrant and important for digital technology today might not be the case for tomorrow. So again, you'll see there just how we represent the sort of sports industry, how we represent medical industry, creative industries, architecture, that kind of idea. So we'll use a range of these kind of images in all our advertising and marketing campaigns. The follow-up messaging is what if. So what we're saying to people is what if you can change the world? So not just what if you could work at a computer and do some coding or do some data management. What we're saying is digital technologies can be truly life-changing and actually you could get involved in those kind of jobs, particularly if you start to blend things like medicine and digital together. So I think this kind of image signs it up or kind of summarises it quite well. The girl with the bionic hand, I can't remember the name of the company off the top of my head, I've forgotten unfortunately. But those are the kind of messages we're trying to get across to people to try and inspire them to choose computer science and digital careers. This scares me a little bit, so what we're trying to do is make it interactive. So this poster basically says, what if you could ask the poster a question? So the idea is somebody walks up to the poster and asks them something about computer science or digital. I hate to think on a Friday evening in Glasgow or in Aberdeen what people might ask us, but I'm not going to be into the microphone, so I'm not sure I'm too concerned. But just how we can engage people in a really interactive kind of way. And also how we get quite functional messages out, so how much are you going to earn, where might you work, what are your career opportunities. So we inspire them first, and then we filter in all the additional messages secondary to try and make sure that translates into somebody actually entering the sector. Just very briefly, campaign timelines, essentially to say that our website digitalworld.net is up and running just now. You can have a look at it, it's live, but we're not actually promoting it to individuals. We're only promoting it to stakeholders, so you can have a look at it and help us develop content. We are taking it out to a whole range of events over the next few months, things like graduate fairs and skills and jobs events for young people. The actual campaign will go live at the end of September, so I hope you'll see it on TV, billboards, social media, a whole range of marketing activities are being developed. And there'll be a second campaign burst in January to March next year. So we've got our funding until March 2016, and unsurprisingly that's when the campaign runs to. And also we need to consider whether we can fund this post March 2016. So I don't know what your thoughts are in terms of the actual visuals or the logic of doing that type of campaign. I'm hoping you say nice things, but feel free to be brutal.
It was quite strong, I think.
The feedback we've had has been very positive. Just about the vibrancy and the way we can reflect a whole range of things and quite a simple message. The message will be targeted to different client groups, but essentially the message is the same. Digital is really exciting, and there's lots of really good quality jobs.